Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. So this is the fifth and final intro pack unboxing for the Gatecrash set. We are now on to Simic Synthesis, which is a blue-green deck. So we'll open this up, have a look at the deck and see what sort of pulls we get in the booster. So, as with all current intro decks, you get the deck, two boosters, how to play Magic Guide, and then also in here is how to play the deck. So in how to play the deck, we'll just have a quick look at the Simic deck on the list, having already looked at the four others. So we'll just look at the deck itself, and then at the end of the video we'll have a look at the modifications that they recommend. Okay, so in this particular deck there's 12 forests and 13 islands because it's green-blue. Again, Guildgate fixing, and there's also a couple of Simic key runes which also help with that. You've got 22 creatures and 12 other spells in here. We're now moving on to the deck itself. You can see that the top card is our foil rare. And that's Mage, which is 2 green-blue for a 1/1, and this has the evolve mechanic on it, which is what we'll be looking out for in this particular deck. So with evolve, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. But also there's a supporting ability on this particular card which says whenever a +1/+1 counter is placed on Mage, which you would be doing if you were able to resolve the evolve mechanic, you may draw a card. So we've got Chronomaton in here. And not surprisingly, you can see that I suspect what we're going to see is +1/+1 themes as well in other cards that aren't necessarily evolve related. So this one colourless tap, put a +1/+1 counter on Chronomaton. Cloudfin Raptor has flying and also evolve on it. Kraken Hatchling. So this is one thing I thought they probably would do with the deck, is have these sort of lopsided creatures where you've got like a very low power and a high toughness, or vice versa. So with Kraken Hatchling it's fairly easy to cast, only 1 blue, but it's a 0/4, so if you've got another creature with evolve in play, in this particular example, supposing we had the Cloudfin Raptor in play, and this came into play, obviously the toughness on this is a lot higher than Cloudfin, so that would give that a +1/+1 counter. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of copies at least of Kraken Hatchling. Frilled Oculus. So another creature which has pump ability on it, +2/+2 until end of turn for the cost of 1 and a green. Also again it's a 1/3, so that's going to be useful with any of your evolves here that have like a low power toughness on them. Shamble Shark has evolve on it and also flash, and there's 2 of those. Simic Guild Mage. Croconura is a crocodile frog with reach and evolve, and there's 2 of those. So 1-3 if you're sort of keeping an eye on the power toughness of these, so give you some idea of possibly when evolve is going to be triggered. Drakewing Crasis, it's got flying trample, there's 2 of those, that's 3-1. Elusive Crasis, it's unblockable, has evolve on it, and that's a 0-4. Crowned Keratok, there's some great named creatures in this. Trample, but also each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample, so of course again you got synergy with the evolve there because you're going to be putting hopefully +1/+1 counters on things. Ivy Lane Denizen, another part of the Denizen cycle. In its ability, again, using +1/+1 counters. Adaptive Snapjaw's got evolve on it. It's a 6-2. So that's interesting because it's got evolve and it's a 6-2. So this is a what they often call a fragile creature, where its power is higher than its toughness. And there's 2 of those. Leyline Phantom, Urban Evolution, there's a card draw on that, and also allows you to play an additional land as well. Sapphire Drake, flying, and it gives each creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it flying. So again, excellent synergy with this evolve. Merfolk of the Depths, flash on it, that's a 4-2. Simic Gilgate, so here we have our little bit of fixing, and now we move on to the actual Manor Base. Again, not surprisingly, all Ravnica. Return to Ravnica artwork. We're in the second set of the block, so that is the most likely thing to happen is they just reuse the artwork of the previous set. We have our islands, and okay. Forced Adaptation, another thing that puts +1/+1 counters on the enchanted creature. 2 of those. Bioshift allows you to shuffle +1/+1 counters around. 2 of those. Tower Defense gives creatures +0/+5 and reach until end of turn. Simic Key Rune, in addition to its sort of fixing ability, you can, for green blue, you can actually turn it into a 2/3 green and blue crab artifact creature with hexproof until end of turn. 2 of those. Hindivines. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn by creatures with no +1/+1 counters on them. Encrust. Two of those. Sleep. So we've got some lockdown stuff here. Unexpected results. Shuffle your library, then reveal the top card. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield and return unexpected results to its owner's hand. That's not surprisingly a rare 2 green blue. Okay, so what's interesting about this deck is with the evolve mechanic and the existence of the +1/+1 tokens, there's an awful lot of synergy going on regarding +1/+1 tokens. And I'm really curious by this because I've had a request to take an intro deck and actually do a full analysis where I actually look at how to improve the the deck rather than just read out what wizards say in their sort of insert. And this, I must admit, I'm wanting to now do this deck because of the interesting synergies that's going on in here with the +1/+1 counters and the evolve. So yeah, definitely a candidate for doing that, this particular deck. So I'm just flicking back through these while I'm talking, because it was good to see just how much synergy there is with this evolve and the +1/+1 counters on this particular, now that we've been through. So yeah, that's a good candidate for doing something like that, I think. And also, if anybody's got any suggestions, you know, I obviously was going to more likely choose decks, intro deck. It's going to be an intro deck basically, but I was more likely going to choose intro decks from this particular set of unboxings. But if there's a particular one in the past that anybody would like to see, you know, just put it in the comments, and take a look at it and see how viable it is to do something that with one of the others. Okay, so we'll move on to our boosters. So again, we're looking for interesting things in blue and green that are going to be synergy with the deck. Also, it's always good to look out for control stuff, because we're in blue, anything that's going to lock down, because that's always helpful when you're trying to refine a deck. A lot of these intro decks don't always have enough removal or have enough control depending on what colour they are, so it's always something to watch out for. So hands of binding, one colourless blue, so we get to tap target creature and opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. This also has Cipher on it, so if you remember that from one of the other intro packs, so with Cipher, then you may exile this spell card encoded on a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. Massive Raid, Red Night Watch, Contaminated Ground. Got another Bioshift which is in the deck, so this allows us to move these +1/+1 counters around. Zertar Swine, I think we've seen that one before actually in one of the other decks. Martial Glory, Grisly Spectacle, Act of Treason, Forced Adaptation, another card we've already got in the deck. So it allows us to enchant creatures and stick a +1/+1 counter on the enchanted creature at the beginning of our upkeep. Elusive Crisis, so this is also in the deck. So we're seeing a lot of cards in our booster which we already have got in the deck, which could be useful if they're good cards, because it allows us to beef up obviously that aspect of, you know, the good aspect of the deck. Because, you know, again, most intro packs do have a, by their very nature, a less strong element of the deck, or that, you know, that's in there so that you can, it does give you scope to mess about with. Cartel Aristocrat, it's white black, Weight of Precinct 6. I'm seeing a few of these in the boost I've been pulling. So we're now on to the uncommons. Whispering Madness is our rare. So with Whispering Madness, 2 blue black, wouldn't be able to use it in this deck, but let's see what this rare is. So sorcery, each player discards his or her hand, then each card, each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. And this has Cipher on it as well. Island, and an advert for Dragon's Mage, which is the next set. Okay. So we've got Predator's Rapport. This is in green, so for a 2 and a green we get to choose a target creature you control. You gain life equal to that creature's power plus its toughness. So good in a deck if you've got any fatties and you're looking to just get a bit of life gain. Contaminated Ground, Scorch Walker, Daring Skyjack, Primal Visitation, Wildjack Halberdiers, Mugging, nothing, just making sure I'm not making a mistake here, doesn't look like we've had any, that's only one. Purge the Profane, another forced adaptation, Keymaster Rogue. So here's a green card, this is our first uncommon. Alpha Authority, 1 and a green. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has hexproof and can't be blocked by more than one creature. Simic Key Rune. So if we wanted to, this would help up our complement of key runes in the deck. So rather appropriate we had that. Vishnu Skank Tail. And we have a blue mythic. So let's see what this does. So it's 8 colourless and 4 blue. And we get to draw cards equal to the number of cards in your library. Then you put a card from your hand on top of your library. You have no maximum hand size until your next turn. So I don't think this will, well, I can't think at the moment how this would be at home in this deck. This is a you know, sort of self-milling. Actually, is that right? No, because milling means you're putting it into your graveyard. But basically, it's a massive card draw. But it does leave you with one card in your library, so you don't deck yourself. But of course, what you've got to make sure you do is whatever you do the turn you play this is going to win you the game, or you have some way of basically repopulating your library before you draw that last card that you've put back on the deck. So as soon as you do that, you know, in Magic, basically, if you get to the point where you have no library left, you also can lose the game that way, or you will lose the game that way. Yeah, so I can't see that having much use in this deck. You know, you would want to build a deck specifically around that trick. Planes and a soldier token. Okay, so what's interesting about a lot of these pulls here is we did get actually quite a few that were already in the deck, so that will allow us to play around with the proportions if we wanted to do that. And then finally, we'll just take a quick look at the bottom of this description here, see if what they're suggesting. So if you're looking to kick up the +1/+1 counter theme another notch, take a look at Primordial Hydra from Magic 2013 core set. So that will double the number of +1 counters on it every turn. So that obviously you can then use that with Bioshift. And also they're mentioning the Undying mechanic from Dark Ascension. Oh, because of course you get +1/+1 counters on when they come back. So that's even more reason for me to maybe explore this deck, because the interesting interaction between Undying and Evolve and use of Bioshift could create some interesting synergies. Okay, so there we have the Simic Synthesis deck. A lot to think about with synergies between Evolve and other cards in Magic which introduce +1/+1 counters into the mix. Thanks for watching.